Pastor Ward to lead us in prayer, and then we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father, we thank you tonight for your blessing. We thank you for your goodness and your mercy. We ask you tonight for understanding, Lord, and we can agree, disagree, but we ask you to glory on this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I always like to read the Pledge of Civility before our meetings. We will be respectful of one another, even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issues. We will avoid personal attacks. We're going to open up public hearing on items 1 and 2 have been postponed and tabled at the request of the applicant. So we're going to start with item number 3, which is ordinance number 2025-01, an ordinance of the town of Hilliard, Florida, a municipal corporation, rezoning the property consisting of approximately 51 acres, more or less, located on the east side of Pine Street, north of Henry Smith Road, more particularly described in Attachment A, legal description, specifically described in Attachment B, written description, and Attachment C, site plan. Hilliard, Florida, Nassau County, parcel ID number 16-3N-24-0009-0000 from Agriculture A1 to PUD Plan Unit Development, providing for severability, repealer, and setting an effective date. We're going to have our land use administrator come up and open us up to give us her report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, this is the staff report for the ordinance introduced by the mayor. The applicant is Randy Martinuzzi, Cinematic Investment Corp., 2120 Corporate Suite Boulevard, Suite 3, Jacksonville, Florida, 32216. Property information, parcel ID 163N24000000090000 Pine Street, Hilliard. Future land use map designation is medium density residential, and the current zoning is A1. The proposed zoning is PUD for approximately 51 acres of the parcel, which is a total of 71 acres. Description: the property is zoned A1 and is currently used for timberland. The table below summarizes the future land use map designation, zoning designation, and existing use for the adjacent parcels. To the north, there's low density residential, which is zoned A1, and the use is timberland. There's also medium density residential, zoned R2, and it is a single family subdivision. To the south, there's medium density residential, which is a PUD, and it is a single family subdivision. There's also low density residential, which is Nassau County Open Rule, and its existing use is improved agriculture. To the east, there's a flume of agricultural, a zoning of A1, and the use is vacant, timberland, and single family. To the west, medium density residential, PUD, single family subdivision, and low density residential A1, which is utilized for single family and for timberland. And the next page of the staff report is simply the outline from the GIS map of the parcel as a whole and the surrounding area and streets included. Then there's an aerial of the property. This is from January of 2023, provided by the property appraiser's website. Your next page, there's a future land use map showing that it's medium density residential for this parcel and the parcels to the west. And then the densities we just spoke about for the others. And then the existing zoning is the map below that. Your next map shows which portions of the parcel is in flood zone A, and the unmarked portions are in flood zone X. And below it is potential wetland delineation provided by the property appraiser's GIS map. Next page is the conceptual site plan provided by the developer. Documents provided for your review. Document 3.2 is the staff report. 3.3 is ordinance 2025-01. 3.4 is advertisements for the ordinance and public hearings. 3.5 is the application for the PUD with all the required attachments. 3.6 is the concurrency application for the school board mitigation. And 3.7 is Nassau County School Board proportionate share due communication from the school board. Additional application information. Mr. Randy Martin Nunes has submitted an application to rezone the property with the parcel ID as previously stated. The property is approximately 71 acres with approximately 51 acres involved in the rezone application and the remaining portions proposed for conservation. Property lies on the east side of Pine Street, north of Henry Smith Road. The property has a zoning designation of agricultural. The owner is proposing to change the zoning designation of the property to PUD planned unit development. The applicant has provided the required documentation and complied with the request of staff, council, and board members as addressed through workshops, email communications, and phone calls. In compliance with the interlocal agreement, payment agreement of the Nassau County School Board concurrency deficiency will be made to the school board prior to final approval of the ordinance by the town council. The parcel ID is currently owned by John Cassidy, CCRC Woodlands Limited, and the owner has provided an owner's authorization, which was submitted with the application. Seminuk Investment Corp. Plans to develop the property in up to 170 single-family dwelling units. The proposed zoning change is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of Hilliard Comprehensive Plan, and the proposed zoning is consistent with the future land use map and is compatible with the surrounding development. Water and sewer service have capacity to serve this development. A quarter-mile extension of the town's water service line on Henry Smith Road to assist with the town's plans to loop the water system will be part of Phase 2 of the project. Pine Street provides access to the property. Nassau County driveway permit will be required for access to the property. The soils on the property are suitable for development. There are wetlands located within the approximately 51-acre site. A permit from St. Johns River Water Management District will be required for development. Conservation plans for the remaining 20 acres of the parcel is a high likelihood. Details will be determined as part of the St. Johns River Water Management District permitting process. A portion of this parcel is in the 100-year flood zone, Zone A. Land use administrator's comments and recommendations. I can confirm the proposed rezoning uses are consistent with the comprehensive plan, as the rezoning provides a wide variety of housing types and price points to meet the community's diverse and evolving needs while maintaining areas of other uses and preventing overdevelopment. My recommendation, I apologize, that should say to the town council. My recommendation to the Planning and Zoning Board was for the board to make a recommendation to the town council for approval of ordinance 2025-01 Tompkins Preserve PUD with the condition that the Nassau County School Board deficiency be paid prior to final approval. And I'm going to circle back to that statement in just a second. The Planning and Zoning Board's comments and recommendations. The Planning and Zoning Board held a public hearing on January 7th of 2025 regarding ordinance 2025-01. There was a large public participation, and after review of all the evidence presented, the Planning and Zoning Board voted to make a recommendation to the town council for the passage of ordinance 2025-01 with the condition that the Nassau County School Board deficiency be paid prior to final approval, and that vote passed with a 4-1 margin. So I want to circle back to my comments about paying Nassau County School Board prior to final approval. So in the few years since we've had a project that did not meet capacity, Nassau County School Board has altered its process a little bit. And I had a personal discussion with Dr. Burns yesterday. And so at this point, they're no longer requiring that they make a cash payment to the school board before you make final approval. They're now allowing projects to go under a bond agreement with the school board, and then they have up to 18 months to pay that money to the school board. They do a written agreement as part of their negotiation process. The developer agrees to it. The school board adopts it. Then they send us a copy and say they've adopted it and they are satisfied that the deficiency has been met, and then we can move to final adoption. And then in most of these cases, the developer has 18 months to pay the cash to the school board, or they have to pay it before the zoning board approves the site plan, the horizontal construction. So before things happen on the site, money's paid to the school board. That is their direct ask. So they said it's not necessary for us to hold the last public hearing until cash payment's made. They will be satisfied with a bond agreement. I know on your agenda item, it says we want to set the second public hearing for February 20th. And right now that is a tentative date. If the school board can't get through their adoption process before then we would delay that 20th. But we still have to do the whole standard advertisement. Goes to the newspaper, everybody gets the letters, all the things. The sign will be changed at the property at whichever date it becomes. But the tentative date for now is February 20th. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wallace. Now we'll have Mr. Martin Nuzzi with the Seminac Investment Corp. I hope I didn't butcher your name.
You did very close.
Very
good.
close?
Yes. Thank
Okay.
you, sir.
All right, sir.
I appreciate the opportunity to present this to you. As Leanne stated, we did have the opportunity to go to I think it was back in October, the workshop. And I don't want to go through too much because this is almost the same presentation and everything. I really just want to focus, because there's a lot of people who want to make comments, on showing that we listened and that we've changed the text language, and I have the red lines. So when we submitted the package, we gave you the final, I shouldn't say final, the proposed final, along with showing all the red lines. So if you want, we can go through it pretty quick. Okay, thank you, sir. So this is essentially the same site plan that you had at that time. The only big difference is that after having learned a little bit at that time, initial time, we did not realize that there was a 20% for the park. So we crunched things up a little bit, and we have put a walking trail that goes through the 2 stormwater management ponds. And then you can see how that has been kind of brought out and enlarged. So we did that to kind of activate that pond. Also, we think it gives a little bit better access for kids to get to the park, or anyone to do that without having to take the sidewalks. And it's just quicker, better. And I like the green areas. The one thing that is not incorporated into that pond, into that map that was discussed when we were handling the workshop, was that we understand, and I'm going to point that language out in the revised text language, that we have to handle the stormwater that's already draining to that property from both subdivisions. I think that the Southern Glen is not going to be as difficult. I think it's pronounced Lorena subdivision will be a little more difficult. And I actually see would it help if I just walked up there and showed you what I was
Well, the
talking?
only thing
Oh, no speaker.
Actually, that one can be moved. Yeah, you can take the speaker with you. You can, and
Oh.
that one that can be, yeah.
Yes, I can.
Yes. Because that helps with our viewing audience.
So the only thing I really wanted to point out with regard to this, obviously, that we're putting a little park area in there, activating that. For good pond maintenance, we typically will stock the ponds. My understanding is it helps. So that would probably be stocked and then catch and release as typical. But I do understand, and is what I was trying to say, is that this area here, their outfall, I have tried to find the engineer drawings for their subdivision, couldn't find them. I'm sure that I can get some help before the next meeting. And as necessary, once we determine where the outfall structures are, we should be able to move this around. Possibly, you see that we did keep all that open for the wetlands, but we possibly put a culvert under the road to keep everything and then to get it to this pond. Okay, so, and then from there, it would be cleaned again and then discharged into the wetlands. So I do see this changing somewhat significantly. I know that there's some really beautiful trees back there too, and I'm very cognizant that there's a tree ordinance. While it is timber, in my understanding, it was timbered maybe about 2009. So it probably would be timbered anyway before we get there. But I'm going to assume that because that's wetlands, they weren't timbered, and that we're probably going to have some nice specimen trees in there that we wouldn't want to touch. Just because I looked at your last meeting, I know it's about, I don't want to touch them personally, but also it'd be very expensive and it'd be kind of a shame to do something to a specimen tree. Next slide, please. I don't know if I had the phasing plan for you, and I know you have a package. So we did talk about phasing, though, in that on the very first phase, that unless it's required to meet water flow for the fire hydrant, that we would not bring the secondary water down the street and in, just because the cost of the lift station on the front end on 50 lots, that's about 50 lots in phase one. And then the cost to bring the water down the street and then to take it up through the wetlands, which also could be a very long permitting process. Those wetlands to the south will require Army Corps if we have any impacts to them. So that could be, right now, I talked to our environmental engineer, 14 to 18 months is about the best you can expect right now. So that would allow us to do phase one without having to worry about that permit to bring that water through those wetlands. And we'll obviously be working with the city engineer to do that and figure out the best way to do that and the best location. Because I have been advised, we have had it flagged. That means that our environmental consultant has gone out. They've done it. They've GIS'd it. We should have that report back within a week or two. And once we have that report back, then we'll know what the path of least resistance is to get the water to the north, to loop that. Next slide, please. And the other thing is, if you were to look at what I was just showing in the site plan, the wetlands look like they're substantially less than what we used. So within a week, we should have a real good idea of how we're going to need to change this to make sure we don't impact the wetlands, other than the fact that we would have to bring the water through them. But so we should be able, this site plan, I might be able to get, I'll definitely have it changed if you would like me to get it a little more, a little clearer and a little better conceptual plan that we attach to the PUD if you were to approve this. Or we can stay with it as it is, and I will address that at the end, that we put that there's language within the text that would allow this to be modified as needed due to engineering constraints, wetlands, stormwater permits, or anything else that's needed, and that all those changes to it would have to go through planning and zoning and your township engineer to make sure that we stay within the intent of what you would approve if we were to get an approval. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to point out this, and I'm going to try to go through these quick, and then if you have questions, I prefer to do it that way than to take up time. We understand that the first change we made, you'll see that private is in red. We have changed the entire text language so that it's understood that the streets will be private. They will be maintained by the HOA. They will not be the responsibility or a burden upon the Township of Hilliard. With regard to the public facilities, it's addressed a little further down. It's a little redundant, but we did also add that we have to meet the fire flow requirements for phase one. And like I said, there's a little redundancy. It's in another area that I'm going to address it a little more detail, in that it's mandatory it's mandatory to bring the water through for the commencement of residences in phase 2. When we were at the planning and zoning, there were some questions that were asked. So I also, while it's not in any text that's been presented to you, I wanted to give it to you as how I see how I could handle some of the questions and some of the responses that I gave at P&Z and what we said we understood would be required and what we were willing to do. So one of those was that we've been advised, Leanne Waltz explained, and she was on top of it, that Pine Street is set to be paved and that they may put a sidewalk along it. I haven't seen the engineered plans, but I think it is supposed to be funded. But nevertheless, whether Nassau County puts it, we will agree to put a sidewalk along Pine Road. Part of that had to do, it's my understanding, that some of the students, the bus stop is at the Southern Glens entry, and that some of the kids are walking down from Lorena. So we would have a sidewalk to make that possibly safer. And you'll see that there's also some language in there that we will have parking to handle our residents, and that parking is all a formula that's required by the Nassau County School Board. And our site plan, if you didn't see and you want me to go back, I could show you, it does show parking. I may have to increase it, but we have plenty of room to increase parking. And essentially is what that is if there's bad storms or such, the moms or dads can go up there and wait for the kids. It doesn't have, that way we keep cars from parking on the edge of Pine Road or blocking the entry. The other thing is, I think it was originally, but we plan on putting a shelter, and we could put a shelter that exceeds what's needed for our subdivision if we find, and if the school board is going to use this for the bus stop for both subdivisions. If they want to do one stop, we have no problems doing that. If we have the sidewalk going from the north to the south, south to the north, that would provide a great way for those kids to get to the shelter, wait for the bus in safety. So we added that because that was a concern that was voiced by at the planning and zoning by some of the residents. Next slide, please. Another thing that was voiced by some of the residents that I wanted to address was that both subdivisions they've been there for a while. I think Southern Glens is 20 years. I'm not sure about Lorena. I would assume it's pretty close to the same. So there's a lot of vegetation, nice trees. There's pretty good buffer already through there. So one of the things that I had talked about and I wanted to do is that the minimum yard requirement that we originally proposed was 10 feet. And I've put in blue, you'll see it in blue because this is a revision that I made. Anything that's in red is a revision that I made after having the workshop. Anything that's in blue is after the P&Z and things that were voiced. So those residents were very concerned about lines of sight with the new development. So what I did is I thought maybe one of the ways that I could help out would be and alleviate some of those concerns was that both for Southern Glen and Lorena subdivision, we would increase that rear setback to 20 feet. Okay, and when we're talking about a setback, that would be a storage shed, anything else. A house, these lots are 140 deep, so you're not going to have a house going back there. Okay, the house isn't going to get close to theirs, but I figured that if we add an extra 10 feet, if we have some specimen trees in there, like I said, I know this property has been clear cut around 2009, but along that property line, there might be some specimen trees and such. So if we have 20 feet, maybe we can save those and create some type of a canopy and things that would help with the residents that are already there. Next slide, please. This is a little tough for you to see. I did want, this is the one that's probably a little more important. This is about the water. And I think you've probably seen the first that's in red because it would have been part of your package. So that's where we talked about the fire flow requirements and the mandatory commencement and also impacts on the construction location and various things and looping in the stormwater through the wetlands. But I wanted to, I had some comments that I'd missed a couple things in when I redid that language. So I wanted to propose some language today that if you have any comment, I would appreciate it. I know you're not voting today, but I would like to get something so that I could present a good document to you when we come back. Is I added, and I have it in yellow, as confirmed through hydrant testing within 98 days of the first certificate of occupancy. So it's my understanding that there was concerns that the fire flow requirements for first phase was a little general. So try to be more specific and try to make it really clear that we would have to test the hydrant and made sure that it wouldn't go right up to the end. To be truthful, I mean, the 90 days isn't a problem because we're going to want that fire flow to work before we even seek to start a house. Because if it doesn't work and we have to bring the water line in and done, we're not going to want to have a model sitting there that we can't C of O for 6 months to a year. So that requirement is absolutely fine. Shouldn't present any problems to us. And I hope that would help give you a little bit of comfort. Next, please. Also, we have the responsibility for the lift station, and it was made clear to me at the initial review that I shouldn't say review, but at the workshop that that the lift station would need a generator. I had actually looked into that, had a good idea, and when I fixed the text, I forgot to add that. So I have in yellow, I put that the lift station shall be a dedicated generator, size in and fuel source to be approved by the Township of Hillier's engineering consultant during the site engineering process. I'd be open to any language if that doesn't give you the comfort level, if it's not specific enough. I'd be open to any other language. We have time, assuming that we can get back that we can handle everything with the Nassau County School Board before the 20th. And just to be clear, if you haven't gone through that process before, we now have the agreement with them. We have a finite number. But when we originally went in for 181 homes. We reduced it to 170 in the application. And when those wetlands are in, I might even reduce that down to the 156 we're showing now. So we would fix that because we wouldn't want to reserve capacity that's not needed. You want to be true, and because we do have to pay it as a big lump sum check, when we go in for our site plan, we wouldn't want to overstate our capacity. So it'd be in the school board's best interest, so that in the community's best interest, so that everyone knows what really the capacity impacts are going to be for me to get that number right. So as Leanne said, if I don't feel that I have that number right, I think the best thing for the community and everybody would be to get that number right, get it streamlined to the best of our ability, fix everything, make those changes with the school board. It goes before the school board, they vote on it. It's usually that once you get to that point, it's just an approval process. And then at that point, we record it, and then the recording document would come to you as proof that we have satisfied the commitment that everyone is obligated. So I'm just not sure that I can get it through them by the 20th and get it recorded by the 20th of February, excuse me. I know I got a little distracted off topic. Item H, next page. So when we did the town hall, it was made very clear that we have to take care of any stormwater that's already coming into those wetlands, that we could not impact either subdivision to the north or south. So originally I put some language in there that's in red. I just put it there so you would see that that is old language. But at the planning and zoning, it was found that along the property line of Southern Glens, and I think to the southernmost part and over towards our property, there's some flooding. I don't know if that is because they have a stormwater system that hasn't been maintained. I don't know if there's been grade changes. I don't know what it is, but I did, if there's standing water, I wanted to add some level of comfort to everyone that in addition to the fact that we have to take the water from their system, that I'm willing to put in the text that says that we would have our stormwater management facilities to be engineered and constructed, as well as standing water outside the wetlands along the eastern property line of Southern Glen. Okay? And I think that describes it pretty accurately for what some people may require. But there is one caveat on there, and I said, standing water outside the wetlands. You guys know I cannot drain wetlands. Okay, I cannot drain them down. So if their property is actually part of wetlands that either that St. John, that the district, St. John Water Management District calls those wetlands, and if that standing water is there because it's part of a system, I have to have that caveat in there because we won't be able to do it. So as long as it's not a designated wetland, we can take that water, we can push it into that stormwater management pond. And do you want to see the what I'm talking about? You want me to approach again, or do you guys pretty familiar with what I'm talking about? Okay, could we go back to the site plan, please, the colored one? And if I'm wrong, I would love people to kind of correct me so that we can make sure that we get it right. So this is the Southern Glen. It's my understanding also from the owner of this property here, and I cannot remember her name and I should, that there's some standing water. Okay, now if you look, she's pretty forested through here.
Are you
But
talking about Ms. Mayo's property?
yes, Ms. Mayo's property. Thank you, sir. But I think there's also some standing water on the back of these lots. If I have the pond right here, it's going to be very easy for us to put catch basins here, keep this as a low area, and bring it here. I don't have a topo at this point, but because this is wetlands, and I know this is falling off, we should be able to get good water flow from the back of their property and our property. So the way I wrote it is along this property line, if there's standing water, we can grab it and we'll be responsible to grab it as long as, you know, engineers and the district and nobody complains about it, and get it to here and then get it into the wetlands. So that's what I'm attempting to try to do there.
My question is, in your first phase, that pond's not going to exist. Is that right? You're only going to have the middle one up there. Is any of your subdivision going to affect Southern Glen? And if it does, where is their water going now?
Okay, can we go to the phasing, please? One down. Okay, great question. Right, this is phase one. So if they have a problem here, we wouldn't be impacting them in any respect.
That's my question.
Yeah, so my phase one would in no way impact them. And then if phase two is going to impact them, the way we did the phasing was essentially to keep fire safety. So in phase one, the reason why we went up is that it gives you the fire trucks and everybody in, and then they can do the circle. So then here we did this phase because again, we get to a circle so that we keep fire safety. If when we're doing the phasing and engineering, if I have to bring this down so that we can, if there's a problem with water, we could change that phasing, bring this down a little bit and grab this pond and build that. And I could show that in a phasing plan if it's necessary. And the truth, this has got, I may need dirt. Okay? There's a pretty good chance that for there, we're going to need dirt. And if we need dirt, we would want to dig that anyway. So I could just put that into phase 2. So I would just draw a little line, put it then into phase 2, and we could dig that and help with Southern Glen. So if that's something, please give me some direction. If you want me to change that before we come in on the 20th, I'll do that. I'm just going to make a note to myself. Give me 5 seconds. Next slide, please. We'd have to go all the way down to configuration. It's J. There you go. So I couldn't remember whether this had been addressed before, so I just did want to make sure this language we put in because we're so early in the process. It's a typical thing that we put in. It does have the private interior access along the roads, but I wanted it also to kind of highlight that all the design, we acknowledge that all of our designs, any changes, everything that, this is not written in stone. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't meet the intent of the PUD, that we still have to, in the final civil engineer drawings, we have to get the approval of the Town of Hilliard's Planning and Zoning Department in coordination with its building and safety officials, which would be its engineers. I mean, you have your engineers, all part of that process. So we do understand that. Just wanted to point that out. There was one thing that I just wanted to kind of show because I know some people had not seen it, and it was just kind of a proud moment because this is the first subdivision I did at CETA. Could we go to the next? So we had talked about whether how we thought the front would be and what we were going to do. We did design it to have a center island. This sign doesn't look as big as it is. Okay, this sign is pretty close to 18 feet long, 10 to 12 feet high. Those piers are 4x4. I wouldn't envision anything being that big, okay, here. But the quality, the landscaping, and everything definitely is what I will envision. Okay, I just wanted you to see it so that you kind of had an idea because I brought it up at the town hall at the workshop, and I had one more that kind of showed it maybe more from a distance. Next slide, please. So that's an actual, it almost looks like it's a rendering, but it's actual really what it looks like going in. Which also is that we would put at the entry of the sub, we probably wouldn't put a white fence because we would have the bus stop there. So if we were going to fence the front, we would go black wrought iron so that you can see through it. We're doing that at a different subdivision. I don't have a bus stop here, so it wasn't a concern. Okay, so if we're looking at this, one little point I could make is that any fencing that was put up on the front would be, and it's not a very long distance. So the upcharge should go with see-through aluminum picket fence. We would do that. And that's all I really have. I don't want to belabor any points. If you have any questions, I'd love to take them. Or I know that's at a different part of the, after you close the public hearing.
Yeah, let's finish with the public hearing before we ask him any questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Now we want to ask if anybody with the public has any comments that they would like to step up to the podium. Please write your name and address on the form on the podium, and then state your name and address, and then your 3 minutes will start then.
Good evening.
Please write your name and address down front. All right, now once you state your name and address, you have 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Phyllis Godwin. My husband's here as well, Harry Godwin. Our address is 37125 Southern Glen Way, so this does directly impact us. We've been here come March in this beautiful town for 2 years, come March. We paid cash for our house, and so it's our retirement. So some of you understand that. And we're concerned about what this subdivision is going to do with the value of our home, and also concerned about the entranceway and the traffic. I realize that the first phase is like 51 homes. When everybody owns 2 cars at least, some people have 3 or more, being able to get in and out safely. I looked up the Florida statute about subdivisions, and it said that, of course, common sense, you have to have a safe entrance and exit to any subdivision. And it concerns me a little bit about us being able to get in and out easily, as well as the people who would be purchasing homes in this area. One of the things that future home buyers look at is whether they can get in and out of a subdivision. So that would probably be the first thing that they would notice is our beautiful little 2-lane country road and being able to get in and out of the subdivision. Also, there's another subdivision, and I won't name it, that is only about a third sold, and they have 2 entrances and exits onto a quiet road, and they actually are smaller than what phase 1 is. So they've got 2/3 of their homes still sitting there unsold. So we have to also think about the fact of what it's going to do with our property values when an appraiser comes out, and we've got all this glut of homes that have been built and they're sitting there vacant. So I appreciate you listening to my thoughts. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Charlie Stalls. My address is 36800 Clyde Circle. I live outside of the city limits, but what I would like to bring to y'all's attention, I know what this can bring, because my prior community, this is what happened to our family where we used to live. And last week when I spoke, I made a suggestion to y'all to make it 1-acre lots per house. And why I know this needs to be done, because you put 4 houses per acre, it's going to be jam-packed with people, cars, and safety for our children. Some of these children, I don't believe is going to be able to ride the school bus. They're going to have to walk because they live too close to the school. So it's going to be a safety issue for them walking to school. Yes, sidewalks are nice, but people get run over every day just about it walking down the sidewalk. And I think for the safety of the community, we don't need to pass this HUD. We need 1 acre lots. And yeah, the houses look nice on the screen, but what will it look in 5 or 10 years from now? They'd be run down, some of them. These ain't high caliber homes. I mean, let's face it. I just think we need to realize, keep Hilliard rural. We want to keep it rural. All your neighbors right here, that's why they live in Hilliard, because they love the rural scenery. And I think that a matter of time, you're not going to get the same caliber of people here that's in this building. There's going to be other people. Y'all know as time goes, you don't get, everybody ain't law-abiding citizens. And I think that it'd be for the best interest of the community to make it 1 acre lots. And if CETA don't want to agree to that, that's fine. There will be other developers interested in this land. And I'm asking you to take this under consideration. I think it'd be a more of a blessing to this community to do that. And they say they'll put up a fence, which we all saw these vinyl fences they put up. They look nice to start with, but as time goes on, when kids playing on the fence, they get knocked down. It takes months to get the homeowner association to fix it. My suggestion about the fence is put up a dirt barrier. I mean, they're going to have retention ponds. They got the dirt. Put up a dirt barrier, 6 to 8 feet tall, then everybody ain't looking in your backyard. And I just think that y'all will make the community here more beautiful to do this. And I'm asking you to take this into consideration. I mean, who's more important, your neighbors that's looking at y'all looking at them, or CETA? Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. We forgot to start the clock on that one. You got a little bit more than 3 minutes, but we will start the clock.
apologize. My fault.
Keyboard warrior. I live in Hilliard, lived here for 14 years.
Name and address, please.
Oh, it's Keyboard Warrior. I live on Fifth Avenue. All I can say is I know this is not going to stop.
Ma'am, we
No.
need your name.
Okay,
and
it's Heather
address.
Gates. I'm just saying that we know this ain't going to help, stop the whole development issues. But what you guys need to understand is we have an infrastructure issue inside this town that needs to be fixed before you let development come in. I understand he's going to fix his own development issues, his own infrastructure, but what about our town's infrastructure? The water pipes busting underneath, the sewer lines, the water pressure in this town is not very great anymore. We have water boiling up out of the ground uptown almost every day in different sections. We need to fix our town before we let other people come in and build and put their own promises into something that doesn't even benefit the community that's already here. It benefits their own gated community. Please think about that. Our schools are overcrowded as it is. I understand we have a school board meeting coming up with the town. I will be at that one as well to figure out the infrastructure for our schools. If this does pass, where are those kids going to go to school at? What are we going to do as a town to provide for our students that don't even have rooms in their classrooms now? We have to think about that before we pass something. Thank you.
Timothy Fisk, 27146 West First Ave in Hilliard. You really messed me up taking item 1 off the agenda. Now I gotta go note list. First off, I like continuous loop. And if they don't want to do a continuous loop, tell them no. You got water pressure issues all throughout this town. Continuous loop will keep the pressure downstream from them. They don't want to do it, tell them no. Also, why don't you guys start working at a business? Make them your permits with bite. Start, finish dates, penalties if they don't finish. You want to run a business? Run one. Put some bite to it. Big general contractors do. You don't finish a job, you pay. You don't start a job, you pay. Put some teeth in it. Now for the big one. I got a blank petition here, and it's been signed by a few people already, enough to put it on for a petition to put this thing to a vote-wide referendum. I'm just saying. Glad to look at my petition. I'll show you the ones that signed it. But it don't have to get turned in until 30 days after you pass it. The last zoning meeting was a sham. Reason I didn't go to it, you people put tonight's agenda online before that meeting. You know what the agenda said? That the zoning commission passed it on to you for approval. That's on your town website did that. The town clerk is responsible for all documents. She knowingly posted a false document online. And it ain't the first time she's posted false stuff. She sent me.
No personal attacks.
Now, that's a fact on her position of her job. She's also sent me a false police report, a doctored one, knowingly. Okay, you people should take this and investigate. Were there 2 zoning meetings? 2 votes? It sure seems that according to your agenda online, how did the town clerk know that it was passed before the meeting was held? These questions alone raise ethical and legal questions. You people should kick it back to the zoning board to start over. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Asia Breyer Hedges. I live at 27150 West 13th Avenue in Hilliard. I just wanted to bring forth some information that I had regarding this subject. I was at the Planning and Zoning meeting last week. I did get a chance to hear everybody's thoughts and hear what they said. I also presented evidence that was already readily available as part of the agenda. And I followed up on that evidence. So I did reach out to the school board and ask about the school impact application and the negotiation period that followed. As I stated in the Planning and Zoning Board meeting, that negotiation period ended on 12/23 of 2024. Dr. Kathy Burns called me back personally to have a discussion on Friday, January 10th about the status of that application, the fact that it had not been extended, and that a negotiation at this time had not been reached. I find that that is in direct conflict with the comprehensive plan for 2040 because that negotiation has not been reached. I do believe this should be also kicked back to the Planning and Zoning Board. I do have an email from Dr. Kathy Burns as well that confirms, good afternoon, at this time there has not been an extension requested for this application. Unfortunately, a negotiation has not been reached. They have not even come to an agreement. The developers of this property had 90 days to negotiate this already, and an agreement was not reached. They also have had an opportunity to file for an extension. And as of when this email was sent to me, which was 2 days ago at 5:35 p.m., an agreement has not been reached and an extension has not been requested. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mary Godwin. I live at 3775 Lorena Drive. I have a letter that I would like to read, but there are 2 points that I would like to point out about the subdivision specifically. In the zoning meeting, he told us that there was 156 homes and that maybe later 170 would be total. But tonight he said 170 and maybe later 156. And so that discrepancy shows that there's either a miscommunication, not organized, or deception. And I would really like the people of this town to have accurate, solid information, because that's how we gauge if this is going to severely impact us, maybe a little bit impact us. And it's really important for the numbers to be accurate every single time we have these meetings. And I think that the council would probably agree that you need accurate numbers every time you're in this meeting. The school bus system, the state of Florida law says that they do not have to provide bus transportation within a 2-mile radius. The only reason why Lorena Drive children are picked up is because they have available seating at Southern Glen. When this subdivision comes in, they are not required to give our students on Lorena Drive a ride to school. They only do that out of courtesy right now, and the school board said so, and they don't have to pick our children up, which leaves our children on Lorena Drive walking. Whether it's raining, whether it's 100 degrees outside, our children are walking to school. Okay. Something else I would like to say is that the mission statement for town council says that you declare dedication to enhancing the quality of life for our citizens, fostering community involvement, upholding integrity, fairness, and responsible planning. Yet recent events suggest that these principles might be compromised. Responsible planning on Pine Street apparently is an RV park, this massive subdivision, and a potential apartment complex, whether that has been passed or not, on the other side of Miss Mayo's property. I don't find that responsible planning, especially when it's all coming at the community at one time. And to us, it's more bombarding or throwing stuff into our face instead of allowing us to grow accustomed to slow growth versus rapid all at once. People can't handle that. People don't respond well to massive growth at one time. They would respond better to a slow growth if you're planning to grow the town. I know my time is up. I do thank you. I appreciate your time.
It's Ashley Beasley. I live at 14432 Ruth Lane. The loss of Nassau County's culture, heritage, and ecosystems is a direct result of overdevelopment and is both heartbreaking and infuriating. Heartbreaking when I watch mature oak hammocks get bulldozed for yet another housing development. Heartbreaking when I think of all the wildlife that is now without food or shelter because of it. Birds that migrate back here only to find the habitat that was here last year is now gone. Wetlands and endangered ecosystem that we depend on for flood prevention and water filtration are being filled in, creating problems for both homeowners and native wildlife. It's infuriating to know that all of this development is happening, even though the majority of local residents do not want it. There are so many reasons to stop this development. God's creation should be our number one reason. I believe he would be ashamed at the poor stewardship we have shown for our county and our city. We act as though we are the only living things that depend on our green spaces. We will have no wildlife left. Deer, birds, small mammals, our insects that we depend on for pollination will all be gone if we continue to allow this development to creep into our city. We depend on ecological services such as air, soil, water quality, flood and erosion control. It's not possible to clear cut and continue this type of development at the same time saying it will not impact our ecosystems that we depend on for survival. We should be proud to protect our city's rural country culture. These developers do not care about our way of life here in our small town. They only care about making money and then moving on to the next place to develop it. These developers speak about how they will not impact wetlands, but research shows that wetlands rely on surrounding floodplains at a distance of at least 100 foot from the main wetland area to function properly for flood mitigation. We are on the First Coast. We should be more than eager to protect our city's unique beauty, culture, and environment here.
Families, including my own, who have lived here for generations, are being crowded out by overdevelopment and overgrowth. We live an hour away from Jacksonville for a reason, because we don't want to live in a big city with lots of people and traffic. We like our trees. We like our country vibe here. These developers don't care about the quality of life. They just care about profit. They will say whatever it takes to get approved. Again, look at what has happened to Yulee. It's now unrecognizable. We are not living sustainably. What are we going to do when we have no clean earth left? Creation is not political. We are drastically destroying our county to a point of no return. Overgrowth and overdevelopment have already destroyed the culture we had in Yulee and Fernandina. Please do not allow the same thing to happen in Hilliard. Please stand up for our city and our residents and for the generations of people who have been here for a long time, including myself. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leanne Harris. I live off of 37185 Ingham Road. Some of you are my neighbors. My concern is the safety of not my only or my children, but our town's children. The traffic on our road, when the trailer park on Pine Street was dissolved and removed, drastically went down. There are not cars flying 50 miles per hour. And if you look at me and tell me I'm wrong, y'all aren't being truthful, because those cars flew up and down Ingham Road. Slow children at play. Didn't make a difference. They didn't care. It wasn't their children. Well, it is my children. Jarrett, you have a child there. He may be an adult at this point, but he was a child. We don't want our children watching cars flying on a road that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. You don't do it. They'll fly by. We don't have the infrastructure. Can somebody insure me these 150 homes, 300 cars probably are going to go on Ingham Road? We can't dead end Ingham Road and stop it because we have a railroad track. We have to have the two-way exit. So how are we going to ensure the safety of our current children living here and the future children? I'd like to know. As she stated, if we wanted growth, we would live in Jacksonville. We don't. I have lived in Jacksonville. I moved here for a small town community. You know your neighbors, you look out for your neighbors. You may not talk to them every day, but if something's going on at my neighbor's house, we know about it. And we'd be the first ones to step up. 150 families come in, we're not gonna know. The teachers aren't gonna know our children anymore. They're gonna be a here, check off, check off. They're not gonna know the strength and weakness. The education will go down. Your test scores will go down. Look at Jacksonville. Are their schools A-rated schools? No. Ours is. We have students here now. They care for each other. If somebody's struggling, they're going to step up and help. The more you bring in, that goes away. Also, with growth comes criminals. Again, look at surrounding areas. Look at the crime rate. The little boy walking to school last week, I believe it was Friday, that got hit. They left him on the side of the road. He didn't show up for the bus stop. Somebody found him laying there, dying. Do you want this in our community? Because I don't. So I would like something, if y'all could tell us, insure us, put it in writing, that these new families that are going to be moving in, one, are they going to have criminal background checks done? No. But I will let you know, me and my husband, both for the jobs we do have criminal background checks done on us and our whole family. So I can ensure the safety there. Where the car is going to go? Are you going to start widening the roads? Are we going to get more red lights?
Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Orrin McLean. My address is 37847 Henry Smith Road. And my question is, and Mr. Sims tried to clarify what my question was. I live on Henry Smith. There's wetlands on the side of us. There's wetlands behind us also. Whenever these comes in, is that going to affect? Are we able to ask him a question?
No, but I will make sure and ask that question. That was my next question.
Okay, but anyway, so the question is, we're hearing about dirt being brought in and different things. We just want to be sure that we're not flooded because we have a big house and a big yard, and I don't want to have to sell and move because this got through on us at the last moment. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Melissa Godrin. I live at 37169 Southern Glenway. Hi, Jared. First of all, I want to say thank you to all of you councilmen and mayor for paying attention to everyone who stepped up here. I saw eye contact with each of you. That makes us feel like you're somewhat listening. Can't say that for everybody sitting behind there. I have 6 children. I have 2 currently that are going to school at the middle school, high school. I have 2 that go to the elementary school, and I have 2 that will be going to the elementary school coming up soon. My issue is not that I think that we won't have enough money for our school system. I understand that with this contract and this whole subdivision, there's a payout there. I understand with each rooftop, there's a payout there with the taxes and all of that. I want to draw attention to the fact that as we are now, we don't have enough teachers. Not because the school board can't pay the teachers. We don't have enough teachers that are willing to go in there, and as all of the issues that we've had throughout this country with school shootings and such, teachers have now made the point to say, my life isn't worth it. But now, in today, we don't have enough teachers to support the thousands of children that we have here in Hilliard going to school. On top of that, as I worked in special needs, we have very little help for special needs. I personally know children who their IEP is not being met through our Hilliard school system, unfortunately. It is unlawful. That is something that they are taking up. But I just want to point out that my children matter. And I appreciate that we're trying to add and build. I know that that's inevitable. But to this degree, to this caliber so quickly, I don't feel that we have enough built into our community now. Teachers, infrastructure, all of the things that these people have said. Not to mention, we have one light and a flashing light and one grocery store. 30 minutes, 45 minutes to go pick up groceries for your children. I mean, we've all made valid points. I pray that each of you take it to heart when it comes down to approving or denying this. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your respect and your eye contact.
Bill Siebel, 36040 Pine Street. Everybody talks about traffic. Well, that's what I'm going to talk about. From Henry Smith coming this direction, by the time the cars hit Mayo's house, some are doing over 70 miles an hour. By the time they hit the end of my property, they're doing 50. You got a teeny little road, and you're going to bring in a subdivision plus the new one going across the street, which will be 200 homes. 2 cars per home, 400 cars on teeny little Pine Street. And somebody said in the last meeting, I wasn't here, but, oh, we're going to widen the street by 2 feet. What the hell is that going to do? Make the cars go faster? Now, somebody's got to straighten this stuff out before it happens. They can't come off of Henry Smith on the teeny little Pine Street and be doing that speed they're doing, especially with the children that'll be around and my dog. Thank you very much.
Any other public input? If you'll write your name on the clipboard.
Hello.
I am Jessica Geiger. I live at 17385 Paradise Drive, which is out of the city limits. And I'm also here to talk about Stand Up for Rural, Keep Hilliard Rural. And I think most people are fighting for this one is because, from what I've gathered, we have a subdivision that has been, I don't know if it's officially approved or not, but it has been zoned for 350 houses on the other side of Winn-Dixie off of Henry Smith. We have one across from Winn-Dixie that's been zoned for 227 homes. One in Kingsbury that's already been built for 72 homes. We have Southern Pines, which I know is a Nassau thing, with 141 homes. And we now have a new development with 171 homes to be added. If I'm correct, that's around 961 homes, which is adding more people. And if each family is either 3 to 4 people in that family, that's over 3,000 people. That's doubling our residents as Hilliard already in just a matter of a couple of years. And I'm with the lady that spoke that said growth, it has been good. We've had community things out here now, which I appreciate, like that the growth has brought that. But it's just going too fast. And I think I choose to live here, like the lady said too. I don't care. I drive an hour away for my groceries or for extra food to go to Walmart or whatever. That's why I live here. I've lived here for 30 years. I choose to live here. I don't mind driving that far. And I would like to keep Hilliard that way. That's all. I'm just here to fight for the rural and keep Hilliard rural. Thank you.
Yeah, just state your name and address, please, sir.
Any backlash going to get from the liable. My name is Marcus Gates. I live at 27306 West Fifth Avenue. The subdivision coming in on Pine Street has no reflections to my property that I live at. However, I will speak on this because we are going to grow eventually. It's going to happen regardless. How we do it, that's what matters. No need for a devil's advocate because there's not a devil here. Only a landowner who wants to build as they are allowed to do so. The same as any other landowner in Hilliard or in Hilliard's vicinity who's purchased the property and has been told you can build whatever you want to build with appropriate, anyways. I believe that we can retain the small town feel as long as we, the people, stay true to the core belief that we are Hilliard. Let me say that again. We are Hilliard. We should require minimum footprints while building and being respectful to surrounding properties, and also for the property owners who are building to be held accountable for damages caused by the developments of, or if any, come about. Now, with all that being said, let me say this. If we do not find a way to let this pass, this town, what we call our home, could and probably will be held to be accountable of a lawsuit. And the reason why being is because just as you bought a piece of property and were promised by, by the town council and everything else with your, appropriate, paperwork, documents, whatever you have, you don't get the build, you get upset, what do? You file a lawsuit. Well, I was promised I could build. I don't want this to happen, but I mean, it has to, when I hear everybody's comments about the traffic, about the water runoffs, all that stuff. I've looked at the plan a couple of times and I mean, it's, as fail-proof as it can be. I mean, I can dig a 4-foot hole and say that the sides aren't going to cave in, but if God wants them to cave in, he's going to make way for them to cave in. That goes back to where I said that, the developers and stuff be held accountable for any damages. I think that it's happening really fast and it needs to be really studied in depth. I think that it does need to get kicked back a little bit to planning and zoning. It needs to be discussed further. We need to see more detailed plans of action in case, the what ifs do happen. So that's as far as the speed and stuff. I mean, we need to come together as a community and start requesting that more sheriff's deputies be required to be over here. And they sit up at the Winn-Dixie and just chit chat all the time. Why aren't they out patrolling, doing their jobs? I mean, those are questions we need to be asking the sheriff's office. That's not something that the town council or anybody in the town of Hilliard has to do with. That's where we need to, all as one congregation, go to the sheriff's office and say, look, we're not going to put up with it no more. We pay taxes. They need to do their job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Do we have any other public input? Seeing none, Mr. Martinuzzi, did you want to respond to anything that has been?
I have a few short
Short,
things.
short.
Very short. I just want to say, we've been very, very transparent about the school impact fees and the negotiations with the school board. The reason why the negotiation period expired is because we are not seeking to change what they said. They gave us a number. The number is a number. That's what you pay. You can't beat City Hall or school board. We said that we do not have an agreement yet because that is a whole formal process. The fact that that's passed is nothing. We've been so transparent with regard to that, and I can't do much more than say that. I know that there was a question that Council President Sims was going to follow up on with regard to the gentleman who I think lives on the south side of Henry Smith, and he has wetlands and such. My response would be that as opposed to both Southern Glens and as opposed to Lorraine, our subdivision has significant stormwater management ponds. And currently, as it sits, and this is very vegetated, but I also want to emphasize that this is timber. This is timbered. It's ready to be timbered. And we expect that the owner's going to timber it before he gives it to us because they've got close to 15 years that they've been letting it grow. But even though the timber and everything is going to take a lot of the surface water, if we have a 100-year rain or a hurricane or something, the fact that we have large stormwater management ponds, we usually find a rule of thumb that we look for 11% of the developed acres to be stormwater management ponds because we don't want the houses that we are building to flood out. And our engineers assure us of that, and they do it. And we built in lands that are circled by stormwater and by wetlands and things, and we don't have problems because we hire the proper engineers. And I know you have a good engineer who makes sure. But I think that having the large stormwater ponds, also when you have a large rain like that, a big event, they stage up and they have outfalls. Okay, and just like both Southern Glens and Lorena have a stormwater and then they have their outfall, instead of everything going right into the wetlands and hurting this gentleman across the street, we actually may help because our ponds will stage up. They will release through the outfall structures unless, and I think it would help. And in that same problem that Southern Glen has issues, if we can take their water, stage up our pond that is right on that border, then I think we can help him too. Otherwise, there's not much more I can say. Thank you.
I don't think he's trying to get you to fix his problem. I think he's just trying to make sure that your problem, that you're not going to increase his water flow on the other side of his well.
And my only response is that every person at the St. John Water Management District that I've ever seen that has anything to do with it are light years ahead of what I can say to give you comfort. So my solace is that you've got great people out there trying to make sure that our subdivision doesn't impact someone else.
Okay, is that it, sir?
Was
Was that it? Was that it?
Yeah, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Okay. Ms. Wallace, did you have any other?
Just one more comment, Mr. Mayor. So I just want to reiterate that in my discussion with Dr. Burns, the continuing of the negotiation is as simple as a one email request from the developer to continue the negotiation and then to go into agreement. And I did speak with her about that in length to make sure that that was indeed the case. And she said that it was.
All right. We have a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion closed. Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? All right, now, we'll go into action for adopting ordinance number 2025-01. But before that, we have two people that have turned in a request to speak. Mr. Fisk, did you want to add anything to what you had said earlier? If you would.
Timothy Fisk, 27146 West First Ave. All I got to say is what I said. The meetings, the zoning is illegal because of what you guys wrote. You can't have a meeting if you already said what the results are. You can't have a vote if you already released the votes. You're not liberals. You're not supposed to be a Democrat state Supreme Court of Pennsylvania and changing stuff. All right. It's time that you people start obeying public records laws, open meetings requests, public records requests. It's like I asked for what was talked about between two people and I was told words disappear and it's okay. Well, it ain't.
Mr. Fisk, this has nothing to do with item 2025-01. If you have anything that you wanted to speak on 2025-01, you're more than welcome to. But at the end of the meeting, we have the public comment where those comments can be brought up. All right, so Ms. Beasley, I guess, has already left. I think she just left. She had a written request to speak. I asked her. I mean, I'll give you a second to see if she's out there still. She's already on the first one. Okay. Do we have any motion? Well, we need a motion and a second for questions if we want to discuss this any further. And this is on first reading.
I'll make the motion to adopt ordinance number 2025 and set a public hearing for final reading for February 20th. Second.
Okay. Do we have anybody that has any questions for Mr. Martinuzzi or Ms. Wallace on this item?
I have a couple of things for Mr. Martinez. I know in the original investigation, it was recommended that hydrant testing was done by the developer to determine existing water system service capabilities. Was that done?
Yes, it was done as part, it's the first thing within the process. It was done back in June. It's a requirement before we come in. I don't have those results with me. I think that that's probably what raised the issue that we wanted to watch fire flow. So that's why everything has to do with fire flow, and we'll be doing that again as we go through the process. But I do know that, well, maybe Ms. Waltz could help me out with that. She may know, but there was a whole study done. We paid for it. And that's also part of the reason why we know that we have to do the loop, because we would never get the 150 houses and meet fire flow. So I think that's pretty well known and accepted by us.
Do you know what the peak water need is for that subdivision? Not fire flow, but how much, at the peak time, what's the flow going to be when that subdivision peak up?
I do not know the gallons per minute.
And the only reason I ask-
A typical house that we would build, I believe, is close to 200 gallons a day.
And the only reason I ask is I took fire gauges today and went to the fire hydrants and I'm a fireman by trade. So I went to the fire hydrants today and flowed water and used PDOT gauges and got readings. And personally, I'm concerned about the fire flow, even for phase one. So before I would ever approve in the final second reading, I would want to see those studies. Just because it is, I mean, I'm not saying it's not there, but from the numbers I saw today, I am concerned about it.
Okay. I think we have plenty of time to do that. And if that becomes an issue, we would just ask for an adjournment if we get tight. And I understand also if publishing's already gone through and we have to republish, we would pay those fees.
You know, and I think the answer to that, if it is low, is to loop the whole system back to Henderson at the time and do complete loops for phase one.
For phase one,
and I don't know
correct.
that that's completely necessary, but I would want to see the numbers and see what the engineers say about it.
And if it gets close, one of the other things we had thought about, Councilman Hunter, is that maybe we would take phase one and scale it down to 25 or 30 if we think that we're going to run into problems with that down the road. And then because the main issue isn't really about the loop, it's about dealing with the Army Corps, who recently took all that jurisdiction over those wetlands that are along that property were all under the Florida Department of Environmental Protection until March of 2024. And then there was a district court case out of DC where they stripped the state of Florida of that jurisdiction and gave it back to the Army Corps. And the Army Corps wasn't ready to handle it. And things are taking, like I said, 14 to 18 months just to get anything done through them right now. And I'm not saying anyone's doing anything wrong. They just weren't prepared to handle the whole state of Florida.
So, yeah, and I didn't go in Southern, I did go in Southern Glen and Lorraine, trying to flow their hydrants there. There were some vehicles stuck in place, so I need to go back down to adapt first and move the water out the road instead of yards. So I'm going to run some more numbers, but I really want to see all that before. And I'll tell you, it's not just a concern of your subdivision. One of the big concerns is the residual, what's left when the hydrant is open down the line. What's that going to do to the fire protection for the surrounding communities?
I get it. All we have to do is look at LA.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I want to see all that before I can vote on February 20th.
Yes, sir.
I have one question. I know that it's been brought up and we're talking about 156 or 171 homes, but you're looking at 3 phases to build this, correct?
Yes.
Okay. How long in phase one, how long do you think that build out process is going to be?
So I actually think that if everything goes smooth, we would be permitted for phase one by November of this year. And under the current economy, we'd be under the current economy. I mean, you've heard somebody reference the LGI subdivision that is not getting the absorption right now. We wouldn't mock their product. I mean, those are 110-foot lots by 40, and they're, tight. I think that our product is significantly different in size and everything. But under today's economy, if interest rates don't come down, that first phase could take 2 to 3 years to sell out.
Okay. My next question would be is, okay, it may take 2 to 3 years to build out phase one, which is 50 homes, more or less, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, if those 50 homes haven't been sold, you've only sold 30 of them. What's phase two going to look like? I mean, you're not talking about coming in, starting right now and building 156 or 171 homes tomorrow. This is looking over a how many year period that you think it would be finalized with phase 3?
Everyone knows Flora Park. I think most people know Flora Park. To give you an idea, CETA is a smaller builder. We put up a different house than a cookie cutter. Flora Park is, if my memory serves me right, is 835 houses. And the first phase of Flora Park started in 2004, went through the recession, so it really slowed down in 2008 to 12. And Flora Park's last phase is closing out today. So that's almost 20 years. That's on 800 houses. So I would think you would be looking at 5 to 6 years, very potentially, with these market conditions.
I just wanted the people to know that it's not going to be a blink of an eye and there's 171 on here overnight. It's going to be a drawn out period.
Yes. And there was one other thing that maybe might be helpful is the fees that we have to pay to the school board is I agree that they're doing it right. Okay. And is what it is, they look at deficiency and they make us pay that now or when we approve the site. And the reason they do that is so that they have the money and they can budget and do infrastructure changes. But in addition to that, or on top of that, the current school fee for every house, every rooftop that we put up is about $5,600. So that's another $750,000 as these houses get built to help with infrastructure and stuff. So it's, I just understand that it's a lot of money. It's over $700 if we go to the 150. And I also hope that it was really transparent that if that I really do want to quantify that much better for you because we don't want to pay school impact fees on 181 houses as we went in if we're really going to get 150 or 156. So because once that money's spent, it's gone. Thank you. Any other questions?
I have a question, but I have one more comment. A lot of people have brought up about the schools, and I did some research since the planning and zoning meeting. And Nassau County School Board published their 2030 comprehensive plan. It's on their website. And they gave a utilization for each school. And Hilliard Elementary in 23-24 school year was at 74%. And Hilliard Middle Senior High School was at 82. And then they do a projection. And the projection of the 2030 comprehensive plan for 27-28 school year is 86 and 81%. So I do understand. No, hold on. I do understand that we need teachers. I do understand all that stuff. But, the schools, there's a process to get more space. And the state controls that. And when we get to that point, the state will let us build schools. And the schools will absorb and handle students. That's what we're designed to do. And I don't know, just my opinion, I don't think we're an A-rated school because we're a small school. We have big schools in Nassau County that are also A-rated. I think it has to do with the management, the teachers, and how we're done. I still think we can maintain a small community and good schools. No, I just said a statement. I wanted to bring up those numbers because there's been a lot of stuff. There's stuff published in the newspaper. And just those are the numbers on the Nassau County School Board's page.
Any other questions or comments?
Ms. Wall, please. F utilities.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to read right here somewhere.
Okay.
I'd rather see us discuss water flows and pressures prior to vertical development of homes
Okay.
at the farthest hydrant from Pine Street with upstream and downstream pressure testing. And that's prior to any building permits.
Not 90 days after the first.
Absolutely not.
Not 90 days before the first CO, but between civil construction completion and building permits issued. Right, that's where you're, okay.
And that way, if the flow is not there, then the pour, you can start the pour for this 14 or 16.
Okay.
But for me, the current pressure test is what's gonna matter on the 2020.
Okay. I do not have a copy of that pressure test that was done this summer, but I do have the calculations from Mid-Tower on gallons per day usage. And they calculate at 29,296 gallons per day at 170 unit build out.
Work hours for the subdivision under construction.
Okay. That is handled in our, this. Water wastewater utilities plan talks about sunrise to sunset work hours, and it's also part of our town code. They have to have sunrise to sunset work hours, but if you want something specific in the construction notes, we can include it now, or we can make them include it in the site plan approval. Which if we're talking about horizontal, for horizontal construction, I think it would be better served in the site plan approval. If you're talking about building construction, we can include it now or with the plat. At your pleasure.
So they're not gonna upgrade no water until they get into phase 2? Is that what it is?
No, so, and what I'm doing is at the end of phase 1, before we issue any building permits, they have to meet the flow.
Oh, I get that.
At the
We
flow
ain't
assignment,
go down that
but
road.
without a pressure decrease.
Yes.
I mean, we're not gonna affect upstream, downstream.
Right.
He's gonna figure that out.
But that, my question is, are they gonna upgrade when they do phase 1? Or is it only gonna, they're only gonna upgrade?
You're talking about the looping portion of the system that they're
Yes.
required. If they can meet fire flow and pressure, that's required at the start of phase 2, before they begin
So
phase
that's
2.
5 or 6 years out still, probably, huh?
Yeah. You said phase 1 would take 2 to 3 years, could possibly take 2 to 3 years to go out.
So that's only if they do.
If they cannot meet fire flow for phase 1, they halt until that is done,
I'm good with that. Before a house is built in phase 1.
before a house is built in phase 1.
But get back to Jared's point, what do we want to do about if we want to have a recommendation about the times of day for construction going? I mean, sunrise to sunset, in the summertime,
Long
sunsets,
day.
yeah, 8:30, 8:30. But sunset right now is 5:30. I mean, do we want to keep it, or do we want to keep it, or adjust it to, I want to say an hour before sunset, because then you're looking at it, in the wintertime, you're looking at cutting it off. at 4:30 in the
Sunrise to
afternoon.
sunset, not to exceed a certain time.
And say, maybe they have something along those lines in the other subdivisions. Do you now, where, like in Flora Park, where they've been building, where the homes exist at, and they're having to build in neighborhoods? What are the work hours there?
I don't know, because I'm land, and believe it or not, CETA is a whole different corporation, and we keep them separate. I don't get into the building of the houses. But I think that like 7, I mean, I live in Neptune Beach, and our code is 7 to 5. And I've got houses, they're tearing down and rebuilding. And if I hear them doing something before 7 to 5, and, I think that a lot of towns, and I didn't know that you didn't have a code. I would have expected that you did, say no hammering anything outside on Sundays, and 7 to 5 or something, I think is pretty reasonable, pretty standard. But if you want before then for us to research it and come up with something, that I have no problem putting that in.
I think 7 to 5 is really reasonable.
And we had, I mean, with the building that's been going on now, I mean, have we had an issue with,
We have not, and there is something that you already have in place. I just can't put my finger on what those times are right now. If ours is more restrictive than 7 to 5, we'll go with what we already have in place. If ours is looser than 7 to 5, I'll ask him to add that language. And he and I'll work that out this next week if that's amenable to all of you.
Mr. Wallace, do you have anything else?
Traffic study, Nassau County's will handle that.
Yes, sir. And they'll, whatever their requirements are for widening, turn lanes, sidewalks, they have all sorts of provisions that have recently been added to their driveway permitting process in the last couple of years. They've really beefed up a significant amount of things that are required.
Will that include Henry Smith as well? At US One?
Typically, they put the 4 or 5 points closest to entry to be included in their traffic study and then make a determination based on that. But they have an entire engineering department and they set that standard.
Apartment complex on Pine Street?
No proposed apartment complexes on Pine Street at this time that I'm aware of.
School concurrency?
School concurrency, we will wait on the signed agreement from the school board before you move forward to final public hearing, and it will be duly advertised when that time comes.
Email from Nassau County School Board?
The email from Nassau County School Board?
No. Does he need to email Nassau County School Board?
He will need to email Nassau County School Board and Dr. Burns to extend his negotiation time and move into the adoption of his agreement.
Is it null and void now?
It is not at this time, according to Dr. Burns yesterday. And there's a really simple reason for that. On their end, they don't charge a fee for that application. And Dr. Burns handles that personally with one other staff member who is utilizing some family medical leave time for some personal family issues. And so there's a lot of grace being given to these applications to help accommodate that staff member at their time of need.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Randy, I'm not gonna butcher your last name.
Yes, sir. Martinuzzi.
So if in phase one, you cut your house down to say 22, 26 homes, whatever you choose, does that make a 4-phase project now, or does it still stay 3-phase?
I would think we would probably still do, it would probably go to a 4-phase. We'd like to stay at, right now, our standard and also is maximum 50 in a phase. I will tell you that we did a subdivision in 2 subdivisions in Nassau County that we went through everything in 2021, 22. And we did not phase those. It was 89 in one and 100 in the other. And boy, we wish we had, because it's a different world today than it was in 21. So, we're sitting on $16 million of infrastructure in one of them, and our absorption rate is not what we would want.
Is there a cut loss spot?
I'm sorry?
Is there a cut loss where you guys are gonna cut your losses and move on?
No, we're buying the land, and what we would do is the PUD says 50-foot lots up to or greater, the width. So, and the reason we have not, we're waiting on the market study to decide, we're kind of on the cusp of maybe doing 60s.
That was the next question.
Yeah, we're on the cusp of doing 60s. The marketing research is changing so much. So when I go into design this with the engineers over the next, if we were to get approved and we were to go into the design phase over the next 4 to 6 months, essentially we design all the stormwater and everything first, because we have to get that into the permit for the St. John Water Management. And then we go on and we start doing the roads and utilities. And then where we start putting lines for whether it's a 50-foot lot, a 55, 60, 65, 70, it's just a matter of drawing lines. It really does. It changes the only thing it changes are your sewer taps, location of sewer taps, location of water taps, which is nothing for the engineer to move.
So out of 50 houses, 60-foot lots of vehicles, and what, like 6 lots off the top of my head? Sound right?
If we went to 60,
Yep.
we would lose 15%, because we're going from 50 down to 60. So we would lose about 22 houses. And I guess in that same vein, the reason why I think that you want a PUD, and communities are going to PUDs versus straight zoning, Because in Nassau County, we can't get straight zoning on anything. They keep on telling us we want to go to PUD, is because you create clusters in the PUD, and in a PUD, you have to give a community benefit back. Part of that community benefit is the water supply, but a lot of it is the preservation of wetlands, as opposed to just, taking everything out in straight zoning. And in straight zoning, we could go to 6 per acre. And this at 150 on 51 acres or 156 is right around 3 per acre. So we're coming in and asking in the PUD, and part of it isn't that we wanted to do 150, it's that once we got to the 20% park requirement and we took care of the roads and the stormwater management, that's all we can fit in. Straight zoning, I don't think that the park requirement at 20% is in straight zoning. I think it's a PUD requirement. So there's advantages to going with a PUD, because when you get things clustered, you don't have as much roadway, so you don't have as much development cost. So it's a win-win. It's a win for the community because your wetlands are protected, you have parks, on-site parks, which keeps people within the community, and then it's a win for us because we're clustered more and our infrastructure doesn't cost as much.
So you wouldn't consider 60 foot in the first phase?
I would like to leave that open, but if you mandate that, then that becomes a decision we have to make. If that's necessary from your point of view, then I would take that back to my boss. I report to the president, and I would tell him, you want to go forward? 60 is the best you can get in phase 1.
So going back to the original council, I think at 60 foot lots, it's less stress on the side.
Well, that's what I said from the beginning, is I would much rather see a little bit wider lots. And I know dollars have to make sense to you, there's no doubt about that, because all of the infrastructure you're putting in yourself. It's not a shared cost to the town. There's nothing gonna belong to the town. Everything's gonna belong to you, and the generator's gotta come to you. Everything in there is gonna be of a financial impact to the development. Would I rather see 60-foot lots? Absolutely, that's what I'd rather see. I just, the original part of Hilliard, most of it was built on 3-quarter acre lots. And I know there was no financial impact to a developer to do that either. So I know that's unreal to ask you to come in at lot sizes that big. But I definitely would rather see the wider lots.
We could end up at 60. Is there any way, just to have a little bit of thing, would you consider just doing it at 55? I will tell you our typical house we're going to put in here, as the marketing sits right now, is going to be 40 wide, 38 to 40 foot wide. We're planning on about 1,800 square foot. And just so everyone knows, an 1,800 square foot house in the subdivision would be selling about $360,000 to $380,000. The price point is to stay under 4. And I know that both subdivisions were worried about, are we going to put in a 1,200 square foot house? A 1,200 square foot house will not carry the burden of all the infrastructure. It just doesn't work. And that's not a CETA product. That's not what we do.
Is the 60 foot a deal breaker for you?
I don't think it's a deal breaker if you say it's the first phase, and if we are having problems, and if we could do 50s on the back if we needed to.
So my thought is, if we go with 60 on the front end, it more matches the adjoining. So I think your neighboring homes now lose that 2 to 3 neighbors. You know what I mean? So
That is.
I mean, at the end of the day, we've all got somebody who's fine, everybody who's fine, we have to price it. But the point is that here, I mean, I think it matches the current. Then for some reason, CETA say stops and waits 5 years because we know the bull market's starting. So when this starts, if CETA pulls back until we see what's doing, then we have a matching set of neighborhoods.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
That seems very reasonable, and I know that really helps with Southern Pines.
Right. And then, well, if you guys.
Southern Glen, excuse me.
It makes you guys a good neighbor. I think it's comparable. You know, I mean,
Okay.
I thank you for the 20-foot buffer. I mean, I think that helps a lot with your neighbors. I haven't spoken to any of them, but, you know, I just think when we look at how the subdivisions mirror each other, and that may also push you back and have to bring that, you know, line through the wetlands. But at the end of the day, even at 60 foot, if we don't have the water pressure, we don't have water pressure. Okay.
Exactly.
So if you ask me moving farther back, section 2 and 3, if you want to cut them down, I mean, I don't have the issue with it, but I think 60 matches the neighborhoods.
Okay.
And
If-
and understand, Randy, this isn't personal.
Oh, no, sir. It's totally understood. I understand. And if you put that as a condition, because I think there's a couple conditions that have already been made clear, which is on your motion would be a condition would be that the fire flow matches before the issuance of a building permit. I have that down. And then if this is another that condition that we would change the language in addition to everything I already presented that would be changed, that along the lots that abut both subdivisions, Lorena and Southern Glen, that those have to be 60-foot lots, and that the back could be reduced down to 50 if so warranted.
And I understandably know.
That's acceptable.
I understandably know that with your setbacks, with your queuing of cars, with everything else you've got going in front, there may be some offsets to where unfortunately somebody may have two neighbors. I mean, it's just going to be the way the setbacks run. There are certain things that we can't 100%, but I think 60 just matches, it mirrors the current.
I think that I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that Southern Glen is 60 or 65. I know it's not, because it's a PUD. It's a
We're at
PUD.
65 now.
Well, look, understandably, I know your company is in this to make money, okay, but we're here to look out for the town. So I like 60 feet. You know where I stand on the water.
Yes.
I mean, I think I made that clear last time. I'm very, not how I feel about the water. I think that was all that I had to read.
I believe all of us feel that way about the water. It won't happen again.
Oh, yes, I know. I've heard the horror story, and we don't need to bring the community up, but I've been advised. And the 60 that's a condition, and I think that it's not going to kill us. I think we go forward with it. And if I could still maintain the option, if 60s isn't going well, in the later phases to go down to 50 if I need, and after phase one. Yeah. Or I would probably write it because we want to have 50 lots. So phase one we might redraw those lines a little bit because we're trying to carry the infrastructure of the pump station and the generator. Assuming we can get water flow, I might change those lines just to get more lots to carry that.
That may also be able to catch both waters coming out of both subdivisions like this.
Yes, sir.
That may offset your initial wetlands issues. All right, I'm good with Randy. If anybody else?
Mr. Marcus?
One thing I would like to say is, you know, I hear a lot of people talking about, I wish that we had another grocery store built. I wish we had another place to eat. I wish we had this or that, more commercial businesses. But all that is predicated on rooftops. We can't have one without another.
Can I go back to Ms. Wallace, please?
Yes, sir. I have an answer on the working hours. It's in your utility specs manual. 30.6 public nuisance and 30.7 is construction hours. Public nuisance reads, the contractor shall not create a public nuisance, including but not limited to encroachment on adjacent lands, flooding of adjacent lands, or excess noise or dust. The contractor shall eliminate the noise to as great an extent as practicable at all times. And the construction hour section says no work shall occur between dawn and dusk or on Sundays. unless the proper efficient prosecution of the work requires operations during night and weekends. Think building bridges and you have to close the road. You do it not, okay. When notification for doing the work, written notification for doing such work shall be provided to the town with a minimum of 72 hours before starting such items of work. So if they have to work, they can only work dawn to dusk, cannot work on Sundays. They have to work outside those hours. They have to prove a justification why and provide 72 hours notice. Do you need more than that in the PUD or are you satisfied?
7 to 5, I think is what we have agreed on for work hours.
So you still want, you want 7 to 5 in the PUD?
You guys want to
Okay.
go 7 to 6 in the winter months? I mean,
I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with
Summer
6.
months.
Yeah, whatever I said. Whatever I meant. Because I mean, it is longer days. It is summertime. Most kids aren't going to do that.
7 to 6.
You go with that, right? I'm okay with that.
7 to 6 in the summer. That's fine.
Okay.
Change 60 foot. Can you make sure
Change to
it's-
60 feet.
Phase
60 feet, phase 1. Okay.
Am I missing anything? That's what this. Right now, serious on the protest.
Yes, sir.
I mean, but, you know, guys, this is never easy for any of us. The growth is something that changes, and it happens. You know, traffic, I'm guilty. I speed, run stop signs, I do everything, but that's a character fault. You know, we control speeding by character. It's what we do when nobody's looking. We're all guilty. Anyways, you know, there's only one cop. He can only catch one person at a time. I know it's not a great answer. My kids, I mean, my nieces and nephews on our street, they're part of the ditch urchins that catch the crawfish and the snakes and everything else. I mean, I think everybody knows who they are. There's more traffic. Yeah, it's inevitable. It's going to be more traffic. Crime, take it or leave it. I think in a lot of ways the area's got a lot less crime. I think a gated subdivision, I don't think it's the biggest crime issue as we think it's going to be. I take the positive aspect. I look at maybe this is how we get more teachers in our areas, more homes, more chances to live. I know one of the biggest things dealing with school concurrency and the school board is places for teachers to live. That's one of the biggest problems that they have, especially in District 4. There's just not enough houses for teachers to live in, you know? And we talked about the infrastructure. Our infrastructure is built in the 70s. It's like if you've ever owned 10 acres, like my parents, we fix broken pipes all the time. It's just a cost of doing business. Grocery stores. I mean, some people like to drive to Jacksonville. I have a problem. I find myself in a different position in my life. My parents are aging. We don't have a doctor, a dentist, an optometrist, an ophthalmologist. My dad can't have here. There's no services. At some point, we've got to accept that not only do we have an aging population, but part of our job is to look out for our aging population. We have citizens in our town. My dad is 78 years old, will drive to Jacksonville because they don't have the money or they can't. Part of our job is to look out for them. It's having the heart for the town, the love for the town. And that's why I'm here. You know, it's okay to be nervous about the road. I'm nervous. I run Pine Street. I'm the shirtless guy. You know, that's how everybody knows me. I run it. I've almost been run over by the kids at street race down. It is what it is. But I welcome a wider road. I welcome the chance of positivity and meet these people. I mean, look at you guys. You guys live in a subdivided neighborhood. Look what we got. You guys are what we have. I mean, do we open our arms to these people and welcome? Smallest impact on our community. Make our festivals bigger. Make our hat committee bigger. There's ways to get put in and plugged in. And volunteer churches. We have a chance to grow churches. You know, there's a million things we can do. Maybe we do get the other grocery store for the competition. We have one pharmacy. One. And it's not full time. You know, I mean, we have some citizens who don't have access to go outside of this area. I'm getting emotional, so I'll just stop there.
Well, I'll say this about that. We moved here in 1971, so even though I'm not lifelong Hilliard like a lot of people are, most of y'all in here came after that. I mean, I can look around this room and I see that most of y'all came after that. We're thankful for each and every one of you that came, just like we'll probably be thankful for each and every one of these that come. I wasn't sitting on this council when either one of those two subdivisions were built that both of y'all that are here live in, but when those came, I can remember being just like y'all. We don't need subdivisions in here. We don't need subdivisions in here. Hilliard wasn't built on subdivisions. I don't know why anybody thinks we need subdivisions. Well, what we got 2 full subdivisions over there and 3 more over here behind Ames. And none of them are terrible places by any means, even after all these years. Growth is inevitable. We do the best thing we can with this. Nobody, I sat in the zoning board meeting the other night and I heard somebody's getting their pockets lined. I can assure you, nobody's getting their pockets lined. If they are, Randy, I need to check. I mean, I didn't get it. So. But anyway, we're not here for that. Nobody's here for anything except to try to make this town better. And if anybody thinks anything different than that, I can assure you that that's not the case with anybody sitting here. So, you know, we have meetings all the time. Every meeting we have is posted out there on the wall, or it's posted on our website, and I invite any one of you to come. We have hat meetings once a month. Nobody's ever at. I invite all you to come to that. We have started having festivities out here in Hilliard, and it brings back things like we had when I was a kid. I can remember those things happening. And it's bringing back that life to Hilliard. And do I want to see Hilliard not be a rural community? Not at all. But this growth, I hope, homes in Hilliard have gotten so unaffordable that people that grew up here can't afford to live here anymore. These homes aren't going to be the affordable homes that I hope for. But what I hope that they do is I hope that they make people that want to live in those kind of homes move to those neighborhoods and open up some of those homes that might be affordable to the people that do live here and will have a place to live. So that's my hope for what growth does bring to Hilliard.
I'll go one more thing, because we've also been accused of, we don't want Hilliard to grow. Since 2004, there have been 4 or 5 projects approved, one of them being Greenbrier, 350 homes. And guess what we've gotten in 20 years? One subdivision. That's 3. We're trying. Hilliard's small. For all we know, Randy sells a project and it never happens.
Two houses in there. 60 feels a lot better than the older ones.
We got to maintain decorum, sorry.
Yeah.
But I appreciate it.
All right, anybody else on the board? All right, we have a motion and a second with those conditions.
Did you get them all?
Yes, sir.
Randy?
Yeah, the only thing is it said phase 1. Can we make sure, can it be the lots that are part of the 2 subdivisions, just in case phase 1 gets expanded out?
I'm so sorry. In the verbiage that I heard, heard phase 1, and I said that to get to the 50 to 55 because of this.
Or some lots that are going to be back behind Lorena and.
Those will be behind the ponds, right?
Right. Anything in phase 1 that is not about either subdivision could go as low as 50. But the truth is, if we're doing 60s, it's probably going to end up as a 60.
Yeah, there's some in that first
Yeah, I see
circle
that.
that are not attached, and they get wider in the back. So, I mean, I'm okay with
I can work with that, Randy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, any other? Ms. Purvis, if you'll call the roll on this one, please.
Councilman Pickett,
Yes.
Councilman, excuse me, Councilman Michaels.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. Councilman Wallace,
Yes.
Councilman Hubbard,
Yes.
Council President Sims.
Yes.
I feel like I'm not a little more, I apologize.
All right, well, with that, it passes, the first reading. We'll have the second and final reading on February the 20th. And right now, we've been at this for 2 hours, so I'd like to take a 15-minute break, so anybody that
Hey,
doesn't
one
want to
last
stay.
thing though, on the February 20th, may not be February 20th, correct? Ms. Wallace?
It may not be.
Yes, if that moves due to the school board's timeline, it'll be advertised on the sign, in the newspaper, letters mailed out to all the 81 residents who got letters before with the proper date and time.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
So the second 15-minute break.
Motion.
And anybody that's leaving, we do thank y'all for coming.
I left our
Couple of these already.
So now, maybe,
Until 5.
got this.
Second thing is BYOB.
I'll remember that. Well, since they're, oh, yes. I'm so proud. I'm gonna be a part of SUDA. It's a beautiful house. Yes, exactly. You're right. We take it to drywall, and then at that point, you come into a design center. Right. Yes.
I got it. Okay, the one I didn't catch was in number
I think it's
11.
best builder in northeast Florida. I think 9 out of the last 10 years.
No, 11 is not Jessica Geiger, she made 12.
Yeah, because he missed, because he didn't sign it from the.
Oh, shit.
I got it. I got it.
Believe that.
I got it on mine.
Okay. God, did you see it? I know. A bug or something. It was like, I couldn't even think. Name, nothing.
In addition to doing all the infrastructure.
How many times do you do that? You got your boot? You got your boot on? Hello. Like we never have meetings this long. I know, I seen you there, so I said we never have meetings. Usually 30-minute meetings. They're usually 30 minutes.
This last part will be about 10 minutes. Unless there's people from the audience that want to say.
Yeah, I got to get me some more slamming. Public records request. Whenever Guy gets me a cost estimate and Christian and Guy get something worked out, they're supposed to be working on it. You hear that, Christian? But I missed one guy, and thank God he forgot to sign too. But Leanne got him, thank God. So I gotta make sure the spelling's right. It's not coming up. I gotta get Asians too. They should get a Jolly Whopper for one too. Take them both. I was trying to take them. No, a bug of some kind of something with my eyeball, and I couldn't think of Michael's because I was overstraught with this in my eyeball. I'm like, couldn't think. It hurt so bad. 3, 6. Well, you know, the little committee members got to get up there and talk smack. Smack.
Oh, break 5 minutes.
I liked everything you and Kenny said because that is the God's truth. We've got to be able to provide doctor. I mean, I have to go to the doctor now, and I can't drive it on highways. I'm scared. I can tell my back is killing me. I'll take what he's having. No, it's just my back hurts, and you know, sitting like this, I can feel them. You lay there on this. Yeah, it's like you're on your right there is how they feel. And so sitting, it's like a foreign body. It's being it takes your breath away. It's like breathtaking, like in my lower back. I refuse to take medication. That's what my husband said. I refuse because when they do one of these things, I want them to give me everything I got.
All right, you got 3 minutes.
It's one thing to look at somebody and think they're stupid. It's another thing for them to open their mouth and prove it.
Maybe I'll get smart.
She was waving at you the whole time. You weren't bearing her mind.
I can't find this guy, Phil Civil or something.
You guys live on the corner?
Of what?
Pine and Henry Smith?
Fill that out. Yes.
Yes. He comes into the drive-through.
Mr. Bill Silver.
He lives
He lives in the house.
Hey,
Yeah, that's right.
I talked to Troy.
Are you heading out, Chad? Yeah,
I found
we're doing a great job.
I found him.
Hey, Chad.
I'm gonna need you to.
Okay.
I'm gonna need you to stay. Defend me. Don't make you stay and defend me. My taxes are out there.
What you doing, Chad? How you doing, Chad?
Good. You stole the city government works this time. Okay. You see how city government works.
You know, you could always be a part
He
of
stole
it.
somebody's
Wait,
work.
let me give that to you and then tell you why Lisa gave you a kid.
No, that's gonna be just as bad. They
She's
can't give it to
gonna
me.
say, Lisa, give me this, she's gonna give me this.
That you go. Good, but it's not all right now. Immediate.
And the fact that we need doctor's office.
Cedar.
It was 9, so 9:15.
We don't have to work for none. I'm gonna go.
It's overflowing on me.
Oh, now it's date night over?
This bag got empty.
You go right up here, Kelly.
I was trying to say it's supporting.
Here, go tell Cory I gave you a gift.
I will. Yeah.
I know, I'm trying to wait it out. While I'm sleeping.
We should have let him tackle that item, and he could have said something. Right, coming up here.
All right. Where we at?
Next item is.
Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, sir.
I thought we had rules of decorum here because I might have misheard. I might have misheard, but I thought someone called me a liberal.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I don't think that's what you are.
Yeah, we got 1 more minute, Christian. We haven't heard the youngins yet tonight, though.
They're probably asleep.
Well, allegedly they're sleeping.
said 15 minutes, we're waiting on 15 minutes. No, it hasn't.
You got about 25 seconds. You want a motion? to
Somebody stepped out for 15 minutes.
You want a motion to re-enter the meeting?
Ready?
He told you you had to kill.
5 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay, so
Motion to re-enter the meeting?
All right, now, we'll get into our regular meeting. Item number 4, additions or deletions to the agenda. I know we've got one to table, item number 8.
yes, please.
All those in favor? Opposed? Item number 5, town council adoption of resolution number 2025-02, authorizing the permitting of a Martin Luther King Jr. walk. And I'm sorry, let me get to that real quick so I can actually read it. I'm sorry. A resolution authorizing the permitting of a Martin Luther King Jr. walk for the concerned citizens of Hilliard, Florida, on both local and county roads, which includes County Road 108, responsibility for traffic control for claims arising from such event due to action on the part of or authorized by the town, and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution number 2025-02.
Second the question.
Yes, sir.
They have a COI on this purpose?
Yes, they have everything.
The motion is second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, item number 6, town council approval of position process for Joseph Jody Moore's transition from introductory probationary status to regular full-time.
No issue. He's been an exceptional employee for the public works and doing a great job every day.
Motion to approve. Second. Quick question. Did you tell him to leave the garbage cans alone when we're trying to?
Yeah, I told him that with Jared there the other day too.
All right, so motion second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, item number 7, town council approval of the capital budget expenditure for the installation of the 6-inch AC valve insertion on County Road 108 in the amount of $9,207.
This is a capital item we budgeted for this year. Hopefully we can get 4 more in after this one, just to help us isolate water without so much shutdown throughout the town.
Motion to approve. Second, and did we get it delivered?
It's installed.
And you got it installed? We'll get on.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, 8 tabled. Item number 9, town council approval of the minutes for the January 2nd, 2025 regular meeting. Approval of the minutes.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item number 10, town council approval of AECom Technical Services Incorporated payable through January 3rd, 2025. Project name, environmental assessment for the north and south property acquisitions at the Hilliard Air Park in the amount of $13,750. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 11, town council approval of Mid Art Associates Incorporated payable through December 31st, 2024. Project name, planning phase, CWSRF sewer system rehabilitation in the amount of $5,500.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now we'll go to the public comments. If you have anything you'd like to speak about, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. If you'll turn on thank you.
Well, I would like to address my personal thing, but the ladies gave me this. If I have time, I'll read it. But it's Heather Gates, 27306 West 5th Avenue, Hilliard. Things that were stated in the paper this past week for the county record, I want to address some of those. I believe it was you, Mr. Beasley, that said keyboard warriors come to the meetings to have a say in person. I personally can't attend every single town hall meeting. I watch them at home. I do make comments at home on my personal page, on the Nextdoor app that I do believe you joined at the right after the zoning board meeting the other day.
But, people that cannot physically attend, whether they're sick, they don't want to deal with dirty looks, being laughed at, this is their time to actually go on YouTube and watch their videos live. If they make comments that hurt people's feelings, those people that got their feelings hurt need to look at it a different way and maybe change their actions. But I personally don't come to town meetings all the time because of the way that some of your staff members treat people that come up here and ask questions. Personally, it's not nice. You have a lot of rude people that work for you, and it's not okay. I know I've stopped and asked questions several times. We have so much issues on my road personally. I know Tim addressed it one time with holes in my sidewalk. It's not just one section of my sidewalk. My whole sidewalk is unsafe for my children to walk to school. That's a problem. We have speeders coming up and down my road all the time. We have 4 watch for children signs. State of Florida says watch for children signs on any Royal Road is 15 miles per hour. Do you guys know that? Not 30, not 35, definitely not 40. 15. It's not safe. Can you guys please do something and put speed signs on all these little back roads? Because not one back road around here has speed signs. The parks don't have speed signs on them. I've seen you run the stop signs quite a bit. You've already said you do. Everybody does. It's the infrastructure in this town. The people here are great. I love it here. But the infrastructure needs help. Okay? It needs help. And if you guys will please help, maybe your keyboard warriors won't be so nasty all the time and speak the truth and have it proven. Thank you.
All right, anyone else?
Harold Bragg Jr.
Hold on, turn it on.
Harold Bragg Jr., 37328 West 7th Street. I just would like it put on public record that documents that are printed for public review are not the same as the documents recorded. And for the simple fact that anybody would stand here and accuse the planning board of participating in the sham, all 5 of those planning board members put in a lot of time doing what we have to do to review projects, and to accuse us of participating in a sham is pretty reckless and not a very good thing to be saying.
All right, anyone else?
Afternoon, Mayor, Council, Dustin Winnan, 37153 Railroad Street, right over here. Good to see you guys again. It's been a long time. This probably is just for Councilman Hunter. We just happened to be talking about it, so I didn't even have a question until but any word on the camera update that they were talking about, the train camera?
Still working on the IT infrastructure portion. I don't know if you've seen the cameras up.
Oh, no, didn't see
The
it.
camera is up. It's not operational.
Okay,
There's some firewall hardware issues that we're still trying to work through. So
okay,
we're still trying to get that worked out. But
awesome.
it is
Thanks.
up, but not operational yet.
Sounds good. Thanks. Happy
It won't
2025.
point towards your house.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
If you would turn it on, Mr. Fisk, it's not, there you go, thank you.
Tim Fisk, 27146 West First Ave. I heard that American with Disability Act, people like me with severe breathing problems that causes them to have to pause and talk should get 5 minutes. I don't know if that's law or just an ADA recommendation or just some stupid thing someone told me. So please check it out. And if it's law, I'd like the 5 minutes because I really speak fast trying to get what I got to say in. And as I fight for breath, or get excited, my voice gets louder and it's worse. So check it out and let me know that. On a positive note, maybe people ought to make a doggy park You know, you got a fitness system over there that no one uses really. Let's make a doggy park. You know, that's more sense. Maybe a drag strip for your golf carts. Speaking of golf carts, you know, the signage does not fit the intent of the state law. You can drive through this town without ever seeing a golf cart sign. And the purpose of signage is to warn people that golf carts are allowed in this town. You drive Bay Road to any street, go down to First Ave, turn First Ave all the way down to 1. There ain't a sign. No one knows. Your sign should be at your town limits. Just a sign that says, we are a golf cart community at the town limits. It'll save you some trouble, because you also ought to check out on registrations of golf cart. You might be surprised. You know, it shows that none of you that made that golf cart ordinance researched the laws. None of you. And that also includes the attorney, because he said it was a great ordinance when it was passed. And you know what? It took me 3 tries up here telling you about signage before he told you people that I was right. You know, you ought to have some respect for people that come up here and tell you what a law is, instead of just laughing at me. All right? And as to you two, the mayor and the town clerk talking whisperly, and then he says, oh, it was just words and they're gone. Well, it's a public meeting. You're not supposed to have private conversation unless you adjourn it and go private. Start looking up the rules on records and meetings, and you'll notice that she's supposed to stay with anybody that looks at town records. The day that she illegally trespassed me, she was not there. No one. I had the records in the foyer all by myself. That's against state law. She ought to be held accountable. You hold Tiffany and Hannah accountable, hold her, because she's broken a lot of laws. You need to have a public meeting to discuss her actions and hold her accountable.
3.5 minutes. Thank you. All right, any other public comment?
Can I ask a question? Can I read this for her? That's it, because she had to go. Can I read it?
No, ma'am, you've had your 3 minutes.
Okay.
You've had your 3 minutes.
No, I was wondering if I can actually read it for somebody else. I don't know.
No, well, you've had your 3 minutes.
Yes, sir,
so-
thank you.
All right, any other public comment? Seeing none, Mr. Hunter,
No further comment.
Mr. Wallace.
I do. I missed Greg Franklin last week. He's 10 years business here in Hilliard, small business, small town. Yeah, I know it's hard for him to do business here, but he's chosen to do it here and he's been successful. So I'm proud of him and his business. I lost a work colleague of mine last night. And
Sorry to hear that. Sorry about that, Councilman Wallace.
his stepsister lives in town and they're fairly new. They moved into a new home here down not too long back. So just we'll keep their family.
Mr. Michaels.
Sports are going good. Spoke with Dave earlier. He's said that he feels like you remember the old Dunkin' Donut commercial where the guy meets himself at the door, says, time to make the donuts. He says, I've already made them. Gabe's at that one. But everything's going good. The adult basketball league starts this Sunday.
All right, Mr. Pickett. Mr. Sims.
It was good to see the house packed tonight, and I hope people know that we listen to them, but I also hope that they know that, you know, they got hard decisions to make, and, you know, we still, not that anything's passed, we still have another meeting to talk about it, but I hope they know that, you know, we take everything to heart when it comes to anything that we just hope everybody knows that.
Well, I've just got a few items. One, I was at the zoning board meeting the other night, and I didn't realize it until that zoning board meeting, but Josetta has been on the zoning board for 20 years. And they awarded her, but she got a basket, Mr. Sims. A basket full of stuff, and you didn't, so. But I appreciate her giving her time for the zoning board. I know that it's a thankless job, just like, this job is. It's a thankless job. Any decision we make, regardless of what it is not going to make everyone happy. We're never going to make everyone happy with whatever decision we make. But I want to thank her for 20 years, and I hope that our next meeting, the February 6th meeting, that we're going to have something for Josetta to acknowledge her. Hopefully we will. Just want to echo what Mr. Michaels had said about the adult basketball. I think it starts at 5 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Mr. Wallace, are you on one of the teams? You're not playing?
Do we have a rescue unit standing by?
I don't know. But the rec league, or the adult basketball starts 5 o'clock Sunday, and then the rec league starts the 25th of January. So you'll start seeing the kids out there playing. That is something to watch, is to go out there and watch those kids play. The last thing I've got is that this is our last meeting of the month, but we have our food truck Friday, the last Friday of this month. So the 31st of January. So hopefully see everyone out there. Mr. Hobbs. Ms. Purvis. Council.
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
You know,